All right, so I want you to imagine a life that is completely defined by the four walls of a basement.
Okay.
You're 25 years old, you weigh 350 pounds, and your primary social interaction is basically screaming into a headset playing Call of Duty.
It sounds like a caricature, really, of a certain kind of modern
It
isolation.
is.
That whole failure to launch idea, but taken to the extreme.
Exactly. But today, we are diving into a story that takes that exact caricature and just forces it through a meat grinder of reality.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at a manuscript called The Tea Next Door by Coach De Bruyne's. And, on the surface, it looks like this quirky romantic comedy.
Right.
But it's actually a pretty intense case study on radicalization and maybe more importantly, de-radicalization.
That is the key distinction, I think. We aren't just reading about a guy who loses some weight.
No.
We're unpacking how a worldview that's built on fear and, abstraction gets totally dismantled by proximity.
By discipline.
It's a story about how structure, even if it's borrowed structure, can save a life that is just spiraling into chaos.
So let's introduce our protagonist properly.
Hmm.
Jack Higgins. He lives in Round Rock, Texas.
Okay.
And when we meet him, he is in a very dark place. His father died fighting Iraq, and Jack has this little shrine to him on the wall. A picture, a medal. But Jack himself, he feels like he's betraying that legacy every single day.
Yeah.
Just by existing.
Right, and I think we need to pause on that motivation for a second. It's so easy to just dismiss Jack as a hateful, lazy guy.
It really is.
But the text suggests he's grieving. He's paralyzed by this huge ideal of masculinity that his father represents, an ideal he feels like he can never, ever touch.
So he just retreats.
He retreats. Instead of trying and failing in the real world, he goes to the digital one. He can be a soldier in a video game because that's the only place he feels competent.
That's a really compassionate way to look at it, especially when you hear his internal monologue at the start. I mean, the language he uses.
Oh, it's rough.
It's vile. He calls Arabs Arabs, towels, and he genuinely believes that Muslims worship a cube block in the desert.
And that cube block misconception is so important.
Yeah.
It shows that his hatred isn't based on theology or politics or anything real. It's based on total, complete ignorance.
Right.
He's filled all the gaps in his knowledge with internet conspiracies. To him, the family moving in next door, Ali, Fatima, their kids, they aren't people, they're NPCs.
Non-player characters in his own little war game.
Exactly.
Until his mother, Helen, decides to unplug the game. And I mean literally. She comes down, smashes his console, breaks his VR headset, and gives him the ultimatum. Get a job or get out.
She was a classic inciting incident, right?
Yeah.
It forces the hero out of his ordinary world.
In this case, the sexual world Jack enters isn't a dungeon or a battlefield.
It's a Hallmark store.
A Hallmark retail store. The irony is just fantastic. He sees himself as this warrior, and he ends up stocking greeting cards and scented candles.
And this is where the cast expands.
Right. So he gets the job at Hallmark,
Yeah.
and his manager just happens to be Cammie, his high school crush.
Tammy is so crucial to the story's structure. She represents the easy path.
Yeah.
She's the familiar American dream,
Yeah.
the high school cheerleader, the
Yeah.
physical temptation. She's what Jack thinks he wants.
But then the enemy shows up. The neighbors, the family he's convinced are terrorists, they also get jobs at the same Hallmark.
Oh, wow.
You got the dad, Ali, and the daughter, Mona.
Yeah?
And Jack decides to gamify the whole thing. He treats it like an espionage mission. He's like, I'm going to keep my enemies close.
Gather intel.
Gather intel and report them to the FBI.
Yeah, and this whole gamification thing, it's a coping mechanism, right? He can't handle the complexity of real human interaction.
Not at all.
So he just overlays a video game HUD onto reality. Gather intel becomes a quest. Spy on the neighbor is a mission. It lets him engage with them without admitting he's just a guy stacking boxes with another person.
But his avatar is woefully underleveled. There's this scene in the storeroom that I think is the real turning point of the whole book. He gets paired with Mona to move some inventory.
Okay, and Jack's 350 pounds at this point.
Exactly. He assumes because he's a big man, he's going to dominate.
It gets absolutely destroyed.
Destroyed. Mona is lifting 2 boxes for every one of his. She's moving fast, she's efficient, barely breaking a sweat. Meanwhile, Jack is wheezing, he's sweating through his shirt, he's practically passing out.
And this is where the cognitive dissonance just has to hit him like a truck.
Totally.
In his mind, the enemy is supposed to be primitive and lazy. But here's Mona disciplined, strong, capable, and he's the one who's weak.
It shatters his superiority complex.
Completely. He realizes that if this were an actual war, he would lose immediately. Not because of ideology, but just because of fitness
Yeah.
and discipline.
So he decides he needs to level up. And this brings us to the most unique part of his transformation. He doesn't go to a doctor. He doesn't get a personal trainer.
What does he do?
He flips a coin, a George Washington quarter.
You're kidding. This detail is fascinating. He decides his diet based on a coin toss.
A coin toss. Heads is meat and fat keto. Tails is rabbit food salads. It lands on heads.
Thank God for Jack.
So he starts eating strictly meat and fat. But he doesn't stop there. He applies what he thinks is the enemy's discipline to himself. He cuts out junk food. He starts walking, then running. And this is the big one.
Yeah.
He quits porn and masturbation.
Why does he do that?
He read somewhere that it wastes sexual energy that he thinks he needs for the war.
Wow.
It's bizarre logic, but he's treating his body like a machine that needs to be optimized for combat.
You know, there's actually a lot of psychological validity to what he's doing, even if his reasoning is flawed.
How so?
He's replacing a chaotic, dopamine-driven lifestyle with extreme rigidity. For a young man who feels like he has zero control over his life, these arbitrary rules, eat this, don't do that, they give him a sense of agency.
He's building himself through restriction.
He is, and it works. Physically, at least.
Yeah.
Over 6 months, he drops 200 pounds. He goes from 350 to 150.
He's unrecognizable. But the intel gathering takes a weird turn. He accepts a copy of the Quran from Ali, the dad.
Again, ostensibly for research, right? He wants to find the evil passages.
Right. He's looking for the kill the infidels stuff. But instead, he starts reading about discipline, about hygiene, about submitting to a higher purpose.
And it clicks.
And he starts thinking, wait a second.
Uh-huh.
This is the code I've been looking for.
It creates a bridge. Jack craves order. He finds that order in the text. There's a term in theology, orthopraxy, which is right practice, versus orthodoxy, which is right belief.
Okay.
Jack falls in love with the practice of Islam, the prayer times, the washing, the restrictions way before he even believes in the God of Islam. The routine saves him before the faith does.
That's a great way to put it. He even asks to learn how to pray. He calls it an immersive technique to understand the enemy.
Uh-huh.
And that leads to this amazing scene in the Hallmark storeroom. You have Jack and Mona facing Mecca on a flattened cardboard box, bowing down together.
That image is the core of the book. You cannot maintain prejudice when you're shoulder to shoulder on a piece of cardboard with someone.
No.
Proximity kills the abstraction. They aren't terrorists anymore. They're Ali and Mona who smell like cardboard and scented candles and are just trying to get through the workday.
But just as Jack is getting comfortable with this new discipline, the old world comes knocking. Tammy. Tammy sees this new, lean, disciplined Jack, and she wants him. She invites him to dinner at a steakhouse. And this scene is, well, it's a lot. She gets tipsy. She's very aggressive. And frankly, old Jack would have given his right arm for this scenario.
Old Jack was desperate for validation, but new Jack has changed.
She takes him out to his truck. She starts physically pursuing him. It's pretty graphic, but she's trying to seduce him right there in the driver's seat. And she invites him inside to finish the job.
And this is the pivotal choice. It's not just about sex. It's about which life he wants.
Right.
Tammy represents a chaotic, hedonistic, do whatever feels good lifestyle. Mona represents the hard path, no touching before marriage, sobriety, discipline.
And he stops Tammy. He says no. He realizes that the cheap thrill just feels empty. He wants the honor he feels around Mona.
That's the moment of true conversion, not when he says a prayer, but when he rejects his old desires because they no longer fit the man he wants to be.
He realizes that freedom to do whatever he wanted was actually making him miserable.
Exactly.
So he runs spiritually back to Mona. But he has a crisis. He confesses to her, I love the discipline, I love the book, but I can't call myself a Muslim.
Why not?
He feels like it would be spitting on his father's grave.
Identity is sticky. He thinks being a patriot and being a Muslim are mutually exclusive because that's the binary he's been fed.
He has to choose between his dad and God.
Yeah.
And Mona is surprisingly pragmatic here. She doesn't push him. She even admits she struggles with the cultural stuff too. But Ollie, the dad, Ollie just cuts the Gordian knot.
He does. He calls a family meeting. He doesn't ask Jack about politics or history. He asks two simple theological questions. Do you believe there is one God? And do you believe Muhammad is a messenger?
And Jack realizes, yeah, he actually does. He's read the book. He agrees with it.
So Ali makes him say the Shahada. For listeners who don't know, that's the Islamic testimony of faith. It's one sentence.
Just one.
You say it with conviction, you're a Muslim. There's no baptism, no catechism class. It's instant.
And Ali does not waste time. He pivots immediately to marriage. Do you accept my daughter? Yes. Do you accept Jack? Yes. Boom. Married.
The nikah ceremony. Done.
Right there.
It really highlights the speed of that culture. In the West, we date for years, we move in, test compatibility. In this framework, once the values align and the commitment is there, you lock it in.
You create the container for the relationship to grow.
Instead of waiting for the relationship to prove itself first.
Yeah. Now, we have to talk about the wedding night and the economics, because this is where the book gets really honest about the clash of cultures.
Okay.
They're married, they're lying in bed, and the text is very candid about the awkwardness of two virgins figuring it out. But then they start talking money.
This is a fascinating scene. Jack's feeling good about being the man of the house.
Right. But then they look at the numbers. Jack is making $10 an hour at Hallmark.
And Mona,
Mona is making $15.
oof, she's out-earning him by 50%. The enemy isn't just physically stronger, she's economically superior too.
Yeah. In a modern secular relationship, this wouldn't matter much. But Jack is trying to inhabit this traditional patriarchal role where he provides and protects.
And the reality of the modern economy is just slapping him in the face.
But Mona does something really interesting. She hands him her bank book. She says, "You manage it. We're saving for a house."
So she voluntarily submits to his leadership, even though she has the economic upper hand.
She does. It's like they're role-playing the life they want until it becomes real.
It reinforces that for Jack, this faith isn't just about God. It's about restoring a sense of masculine utility that he lost when he was in the basement.
Speaking of role reversals, we have to mention the subplot with Jack's mom, Helen.
Right.
While Jack is off becoming a disciplined Muslim, Helen has been getting cozy with Jamal, a neighbor down the street.
Who happens to be a black Muslim man.
The comedy here is gold. Jack starts off terrified of Jamal, but by the end, after Jack converts, Jamal comes to Jack.
Let me guess.
Because Jack is now the quote-unquote head of the household to ask for permission to marry his mother.
It loops everything together.
Well, Jack tries to act tough, but he's secretly relieved.
It just shows that integration is messy. It's not a straight line. You have these weird, funny, overlapping circles of race, religion, and family all blending together in suburban Texas.
Yeah.
So everything seems perfect. Jack is thin, married, employed. The family is unified. They're planning a joint wedding reception for Jack and his mom. And then the doorbell rings.
It's not the pizza guy. It's the FBI. A full tactical raid on the neighbor's house.
And the scene is devastatingly domestic. Fatima, the mother, is in the kitchen chopping vegetables for dinner.
The police burst in, guns drawn, screaming at her to drop the weapon.
She's just holding a kitchen knife.
She's just holding a knife. She's confused. She asks them if they want tea.
And they arrest her. The charge is treason, providing material support to terrorists.
And we really need to unpack this because this is where the book shifts from a comedy to a real tragedy. The crime, it isn't that she built a bomb.
No.
It's that years ago, she wrote a check to a charity in Palestine to buy food and clothes for orphans.
But that charity was later linked to Hamas.
Exactly. And under U.S. law, specifically the material support statutes, intent doesn't always matter.
Right.
If you give money to a group that the State Department has designated as a foreign terrorist organization, even if you intended that money for food, it is a federal crime.
It's treated the same as buying them bullets.
That is terrifying. You can go to prison for charity if the paperwork on the other end is bad.
It's a legal minefield that a lot of Muslim Americans have had to navigate. The state sees a terrorist financier. The family just sees a mother trying to feed hungry kids.
And the reaction of the family is just heartbreaking. Ali is stoic, trying to hold it together. Fatima is defiant. She trusts her intention was pure in the eyes of God.
And Jack.
But Jack is the one driving the car.
This is the full circle moment. 6 months ago, Jack's whole mission was to drive these people to the police station.
He wanted them arrested. He wanted to save America from them.
And now he's driving them to the police station, but not as an informant.
No. He's driving them because he's their son-in-law.
Yeah.
He's their chauffeur. He's their support.
The perspective shift is total. He realizes that the terrorists he hallucinated in his basement, they just don't exist. Instead, he sees a family being crushed by a geopolitical machine that is just as blind and unfeeling as he used to be.
He sees that the system he blindly worshipped, that whole protecting America narrative, is actually tearing his new family apart.
Yeah.
The story ends on a really quiet note. Jack and Mona go home to that empty house. They shower washing off the trauma of the day, and they pray together for Fatima.
Mm.
And then Jack looks at that picture on the wall, the picture of his father who died in Iraq.
And he speaks to him.
He just says, "Dad, we were wrong. They aren't the enemy."
It's such a heavy ending. It doesn't resolve the legal case. Fatima is still in jail, but it resolves Jack's internal war.
Right.
He's finally stepped out of his father's shadow, not by becoming a soldier, but by becoming a man who can see the truth for himself.
It really leaves you with a lot to chew on, this
Yeah.
whole journey from the basement to the prayer mat.
I think the big takeaway for me is about the fragility of hate. Jack's hate seemed so solid,
Yeah.
so impenetrable.
Yeah.
But it couldn't survive lifting boxes. It couldn't survive sharing a meal. It couldn't survive the discipline of just daily life.
And it suggests that maybe the antidote to that kind of angry, aimless young male energy isn't tolerance training or something. It's purpose.
Yes.
Jack needed a war. He just needed to fight the war against his own laziness instead of against his neighbors.
Precisely. He needed to conquer himself before he could understand the world.
Well, that is The Tea Next Door. A story that starts with Fortnite and ends with federal charges, with a whole lot of heart in the middle.
A wild ride.
Before we sign off, here's a provocative thought for you to carry with you. The story ends with the mother in handcuffs. And it forces us to ask, does sharing a faith or a lifestyle actually erase these political divides, or does it just make the tragedy personal? Jack isn't watching a terrorist go to jail anymore. He's watching his mother-in-law. Does that change the politics, or does it just change the pain?
That is the question.
Thanks for diving deep with us today. We'll see you on the next one.